Tony, I have a question. Today's show is all about lists and top 10s and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are you even on your wife's top 10 list of favorite people?
This is a sore subject, Mike, because I'm an honorable mention.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
On blue, ready?
Don Coryell.
Hello, history books. Touchdown, San Diego! Woo!
What is up, everybody? It's Friday night around 5:15 p.m. We're live for the newest episode of Nuts and Bolts. I'm NFL Mike. I'm joined here by my friend Tony Tucker. Tony, you're dancing. Must be excited. How's it going? Camp's coming.
Friday night and the weekend's here. I need to unwind with some Chargers. Chargers talk. I love it. Nuts and Bolts in the building. I am fired up, Mike, because I did a show previous to this. And The Real Leal on YouTube, I'm giving him a shout out. He did his top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, and he said headed into 2022. This is a Patriots fan from New York City, and he had Justin Herbert at number 1. So I want to give a shout out to The Real Leal. Here it is. You are the man. We got into a real hot debate on that show. It was fun, but I can't wait. So close to camp, Mike. I can almost hear the pads just smashing right now. Just
I can taste it. Hopefully I don't see too much of maybe more like against our own guys.
The guys that got to make the team. I don't want to see studs doing it, but we got a lot of guys I wouldn't mind seeing, getting hit, delivering some hits, putting it in, putting the work in.
I would love to see some Rashawn Slater versus Khalil Mack work on the days I'm going to camp. I hope I get to see it.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. And that is one of the things that I've been talking to family and stuff about, is that you can have upgrades on your team when every day in practice you're getting to go against these people. And also the guys behind them, because in a couple of weeks I plan on talking about, we're each going to name 3 players. I'm going to give a little spoiler alert. 3 players that we think in year 2, year 3 that are going to have a big jump. Chris Rumph is going to be one of my guys. Because there's no way that you can be behind Bosa and Mack and Kyle Van Noy comes in and you can't get, you are going to get better by watching these players, being in a room with these players, being around them, trying to be as good as them. That makes you better. It absolutely does. So Chris Rumph, I think he's going to be in store for a huge year.
Oh yeah, and I'll be watching Asante. He was showing out at camp last year. I'll be watching a couple of different guys that are a little bit under the radar that people don't talk about very often. I can't get a smile off my face because I can't even believe Khalil Mack's going to be at Chargers practice. It's crazy to me that is something that if you asked me in 2016, what is the least likely Raider to ever play for your team, I probably would have said Khalil Mack.
It's going to be it's going to be wild because he's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday, and now he could be going into the Hall of Fame as a Charger because this is the final couple of years, which would be amazing. Before we go into these lists, Mike, can I give a quick little rant about lists?
Yes.
So I love lists. I put out a list of top 10 quarterbacks, and I got a lot of bad feedback. Hey, 40-year-old man, have you ever even watched football before? Why isn't Kyler Murray in your top 10? And oh my goodness, this guy's an idiot. That's fine because it's just an opinion. And if you're an honest person, you can reevaluate it. So my problem with lists is you have to put their names. I need to know who these people are that made this list. Because these are credible people. That's the other thing is you're in the NFL. You have a job. You're a GM. You're a player. You know this. But now you can just sort of be biased or anonymously say, and I'm not saying every Charger needed to be ranked number 1. But even as I look at it, I'm you guys left some people off the list from other teams or certain players are super low. It's wait. Okay, I want to know who is a part of compiling this list. I don't like anonymous lists. I think anonymous lists to me, it's it feels tainted. It feels like there was some sort of shenanigans behind the scenes that I don't know about.
They can even go a step further and be like, we polled 10 GMs, 25 players, and 5 former executives. I don't know. Like, give us some numbers of at least so we know who we're talking to. For all we know, they talked to one person, and one person made all these lists. One insider made all these lists. And like you said, bias is going to come into it, especially. And I'll argue this till I die, that there is more bias from the players and the rosters for their own guys than there is for even fans. Like when Devontae Adams is talking about Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers comparisons, he's more biased than the Raiders fans who buy into that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to do 40 current ones, and let's say for some reason you don't want to have them, they don't want their names out there because maybe they didn't pick their quarterback. Maybe they talked to the Giants GM and he's like, well, my name's on the list. I probably should say a couple of my players, even though I don't think any of them belong in this list. Like, okay, let's fine. So we keep it anonymous for those current and players, coaches, GMs, whatever. But then you got to use 10 former coaches, players, GMs in other spots, and let's hear from them, because it's not even that I just disagree. I also want to know their thought process. I want to know, what am I missing? What am I not seeing? Why is there a reason that you think the way that you do? I want a chance to learn. But if it's just anonymous, I'm just like, oh, then he asked certain people and there's some bias, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and let's also get like James Harrison and Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharp as like the past people to do it, because I don't want to see no players tweeting at the guys that get revealed making the list. They won't be tweeting at those guys. We don't got to worry about that. So there you go. All right, speaking of these lists, let's try to get into these. Athir's in here. He's excited. He thinks the ranking was real stupid and dumb, and we're going to talk about some of the things. Eckler not being on the list. Go ahead and fire away any comments and questions, Athir. We will answer them. If they're on topic, we'll answer them in depth. If they're off topic, we'll answer them briefly, but we'll answer them. I promise. Here it is, Tony. The list that we've been mentioning. Executives, players, anonymous people made these lists. The way I set this graphic up, it's hard to see Slater for us because there's a little live sticker there, but Rashawn Slater at the top, all the way down, highest ranked to lowest ranked, I guess, other than Khalil Mack. I just wanted to keep him with Bosa. On the other side of the honorable mentions, which we should talk about first. Honorable mentions, Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen don't make the list. Now, I think Mike Williams getting an honorable mention is a good thing. But what's your thoughts on Eckler or Keenan missing out on this list, Tony?
It's crazy because if you talk to any wide receiver, right? Chad Ochocinco, who are your favorite route runners in the league? Devontae Adams and Keenan Allen. You talk to anybody else, oh man, you know who I study a lot of? I study Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen continues to come up. Then it's like, then you don't take in longevity or consistency or anything to whatever the ranking is. It's like, oh, we asked a bunch, who's really hot right now? Who should be on this list? And don't get me wrong, the people that were at the top of the list that have only been 1-2 years in the league, they probably do deserve to be in the top 10 and maybe even higher. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and these players up there. But every year you're putting up these kinds of Hall of Fame track numbers and then you're not a top 10. And it's not like you just, you peaked for one season and then fell off. Mm-hmm. This is, just sustained greatness. And if I was making my list, I think somewhere around 8, 9 is a fair spot for him to be on the top 10 list. So I was a little bumped by it. It was a kind of, when you scroll through, you ever go through like when you're trying to make a team, Mike, and you're like, okay, did I make it? Is my name on the sheet of paper? And you're like, well, I just got to the T's. Maybe he misspelt it. Did he spell Tucker with an F? Damn it. I hate this coach.
Yeah, I have similar opinion to you. I have Keenan, I think, at 9 in my list that I made for wide receivers. He's right there at the edge. And what they aren't also taking into account, for one, Keenan had tail end of Philip Rivers. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing, but there's definitely a tail end there towards the last couple years of Rivers' career into a rookie quarterback, which it's Justin Herbert, we know, but how much is Keenan Allen helping that product that Justin Herbert has already become in his young career? And on top of it all, Mike Williams is there sucking up 1,000 yards and 80 catches. So it's not like Keenan Allen can even possibly put up 1,300 yards every single season because he's got other weapons around him. Austin Eckler also is like a 1,600 yard, 1,700 yard all-purpose guy. So if you look at the pure stat lines and you look at what Keenan does every single year, you can tell how important he is to the offense, and you can tell how consistent he is from year to year. He has not dropped off from his best year. He's still playing some of the best football that Keenan Allen has ever played, but the numbers aren't there because we have multiple weapons that put up similar production to him. So I think that he should have been in the top 10 because if Keenan Allen didn't have Mike Williams in the receiving core, he would have had 1,300 receiving yards last year.
Yeah, and then you got D-Hop on the list, and it's like, no doubt, D-Hop is great, right? But I think he was injured a lot last year, and I think he's suspended for the first 6 games of this year. So, like, are we just talking what they've done and overall talent and what we think of their measurables? And I don't know.
Now I'll give them some credit. Keenan was the first honorable mention, so I'm assuming that Keenan was 11 on the list as far as the average goes. So we'll give them that at least. Like they're close. They're only a few spots off still, but give us Keenan at 10. Why couldn't it be at 10? Was Mike Evans on the list? Because any argument you have for Mike Evans should also apply to Keenan Allen. They're basically putting up the same exact production every year.
I believe Mike Evans was number 8. Yeah. So, and it's, I'm fine with it. Again, like I said with lists, I don't care that what's on your list. I like it. It's good for debate and sports talk or whatever, but I don't really understand why when it's anonymous and you're like, oh, these are the smartest people. They're in the know. What don't I know? What am I missing?
It's time to get Julian Edelman on the panel. His number 2 ranking of Keenan would move him up a lot in the average.
I love that.
To another honorable mention, Austin Eckler, I think, is the biggest snub. More than Keenan, more than Mike. Austin Eckler getting snubbed off this list is a damn crime. Austin Eckler just went nuts last year, had a career year, and had 20 total touchdowns. That is a mark that happens once every so often, not very often. Maybe 1 or 2 running backs a season even have a shot at it and actually accomplish the goal. How can Austin Eckler not be in the top 10, Tony?
This was so aggravating to me because I really thought, like, all right, they're gonna recognize his value and his ability and all the things that he does. Like this, people are gonna start to recognize him. And they still don't, because we talked about this earlier in our offseason shows where it's like, how was this guy not second team All-Pro? And for whatever reason, they just don't look at Austin Eckler as like a running back. He's like a special teams player who plays offense, except he gets 1,500 yards. You know, it's not like they're not throwing Devin Hester out there for some trick plays. He's carrying the ball 200 plus times, and he's getting targeted 85 times or whatever it is, or, 70 catches in the season. And it's like in a new offense, in a new NFL, you want to have Austin Eckler. The guy picks up blocks on third down. He makes contested catches. That week 2 catch in Dallas where he got his bell rung, he got smoked on that play. Wheel routes out of the backfield, he can do it all. It drives me absolutely insane. And if he has another good year like this and he's not in the Pro Bowl and on everybody's lists, I'm going to freak out. And I will just be screaming every show about Austin Eckler.
And if he's healthy, he's going to have another season like it. I'm trying to get the list pulled up to see who was ahead of him. But yeah, that catch was insane. But it is absolute robbery to have Austin Eckler outside the top 10. I don't even know what the arguments are for the guys ahead of him because I can't even freaking get to the list right now. But yeah,
I'll let you look for that. I'm going to throw up a Thier's comment here, and
let's talk about it
because he's got a lengthy one. Okay, first thought on week 1, be the Raiders. I know we as fans need revenge, but the coach has to get the team ready. New season, new start, and we have more talent on both sides of the ball. What do you think? Yes, fans and coaches. Very different, right? Like, I would hope that Brandon Staley does not coach like a fan. Although sometimes it feels like the way he goes for it on 4th down, he is playing Madden. I think there's more strategy involved in that. So, yes, week 1, we all want to just like smoke the Raiders. for sure. I'm going to be in there. I got an end zone seat. I plan on losing my voice. I plan on debuting the Josh Palmer jersey. I hope the camera cuts to me when he catches a touchdown to put them away, go up by 3 scores in the fourth quarter. I definitely think that it's a huge advantage to be able to catch the Raiders and the Chiefs early on, because they're both going to be implementing new aspects to their offense, right? You got a new head coach. They're trying to work in Devontae Adams in the first week. Defensive scheme is going to be new. Everything is year 2 with the Chargers. I think that gives them an advantage, and I'm really hoping Chargers fans show up in SoFi and we kind of nullify this blackout talk, right? Where it's like, show up, it's the first game of the year. I know tickets are expensive because the scalping prices raise everything, but there's plenty of great places. Go on Chargers Twitter. You can find tickets from other fans selling them for reasonable prices, and you can get in there and we can just, shout them all the way back to Las Vegas with an L.
Yeah, the biggest thing is I think we're going to come out firing, Tony. I think we're going to come out hot, motivated. This team's going to be pumped up to get on the field together, and they're probably going to be chomping at the bit at that point. We're going to have a month of working together in camp, the whole team together, and Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa are going to be hungry to work together because it's going to be their first time playing with a caliber player on both sides. Maybe Khalil Mack's seen some guys close to Bosa, but I still don't think so. So I think that's going to be good. And JC and Derwin working together in the secondary. Brandon Staley probably feels like he's driving a Ferrari now on defense. He could just freaking go 120 down the freeway when it's empty with these weapons and how much talent we have. So I'm pumped to see our schedule has Raiders Chiefs. I'm pumped to see that because I think we're going to come out the gate hot and in KC. If you beat the Raiders on Sunday and then go to KC and beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead on Thursday, a couple days later, the league's on notice. Bam. Week 2, y'all on notice already.
Oh, Friday morning, I'm going to wake up and float. I'm going to be driving my kids to school. I'll be up the night before painting my minivan powder blue just so all the Raiders fans in my neighborhood know what time it is. I will be way over the top with excitement after a week 2 victory. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We got to focus on the Raiders first. Here's some questions for you, Tony. Najee had a great rookie year.
Great.
Let's give it to him. Do you think Najee had a better year than Eckler?
No, he didn't. He had a bad offensive line. He had 3.3 yards per carry or something.
Yeah, he's at 8. Aaron Jones dealt with a lot of injury. I'll take him off. He's a veteran. He's kind of been in the top 10 his whole career. He's been right at this spot, so we'll keep him here. But number 10, who do you think had a better year last year, Tony? And this is going to piss you off. Javonte Williams or Austin Eckler?
Yeah. Again, this is in the list. Are you factoring in potential and whatever else? Because you could look at it. Yards after contact, Javonte Williams is a beast. And I think Melvin Gordon might actually be doing teams a favor by taking more reps away from Javonte in games sometimes because he really is year 3, year 4 he's going to be a problem for teams. But I'm not putting him over Austin Eckler in the year where he had 1,500 yards, 70 catches, and 20 touchdowns. I'm not doing it.
Exactly. And if you are ranking a rookie above Austin Eckler, to me, you're saying that rookie had a better one season and a good enough one season to erase what Austin Eckler's done so far in his career. To go above what Austin Eckler's done so far in his career. Yeah, that last year was his career year. He's been doing this. He's been this kind of threat for a couple seasons. It's just last year was the first year that the offense fully highlighted what he can do as a catcher, as a receiver of the football. And man, yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, and it's a shame because I think that 20 touchdown mark and that 1,500 yard mark is going to come down a little bit because of the addition of Isaiah Spiller. So if Austin Eckler didn't get on the list last year, fuck him, I guess. He's never getting on the list, huh?
Yep, I guess so. The big old FU.
Crazy. Go ahead. Fire away, Athir. Fire away. Did you want to talk about Mike Williams getting on the honorable mentions? I think that's good for Mike. It's a good ranking for him versus, the Keenan and the Austin Eckler kind of getting lowballed a little bit. Mike obviously dealt with injuries a lot in his career. So to get listed probably in the top 15 by players and execs already after last year's big season, I like to see it.
Yeah, there's also, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of some of these lists, there's an others receiving votes. And there's Adam Thielen got a top 10 vote. Mm-hmm. Really? I mean,
I don't even understand that. From who? From Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen?
A couple of years ago, for sure, Adam Thielen could have gotten many votes, and I probably would have put him in my top 10. I think 2019 or whatever it was, 2018. He had a monster season. Not after last year, not after the past couple of years. How's he getting a vote? So, yes, Athir asked the question. This is my real hair. Yes, I do need to shave. I can tell. What other questions you got?
Go ahead, Athir.
Yeah, let's keep it moving. We're trying to get this show under 30 minutes.
Here we go. Rashawn Slater is probably the most impressive one to me, too. Rashawn Slater, rookie tackle, one of the hardest positions to play in the sport, one of the hardest positions to dominate in the sport, because you only get noticed when you do bad. You don't usually get noticed when you do good unless you're elite. And it looks like players and execs agree with me and you. Rashawn Slater is already an elite left tackle in this league. Top 5. And when you're top 5 as a rookie, you do it again your second year, you're going into the top 3.
Yes, I agree. I think if you duplicate this, now all of a sudden we've established a pattern, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we want to see. It's like, can you duplicate the year, but then if you improve on it, it's all right. Now you're setting what the standard is for going into year 3. Everybody's looking for their Rashawn Slater. Everybody was looking for Trent Williams. Like when I was coming up, you were looking for Ogden or Baselli, or you were looking for that anchor, like even when I was real young, Anthony Munoz, but not to say how old I am. Like you looked for these, these type of cornerstone offensive linemen that I look at this as a win. I'm glad we drafted him. I remember some of the talk was like people were nervous about it or whatever. Why did he fall? It's like, well, be thankful that he fell. Like same thing happened with Herbert. He fell. Be thankful. Derwin fell. There it is. Like sometimes good things just come to those who wait. In cliche for the moment. There we go.
Yeah. He fell because he has short arms. That's literally the only reason that he fell. And clearly that wasn't a problem against Myles Garrett, and that wasn't a problem against Max Crosby, and that wasn't a problem against other pass rushers last year. So that's the reason that he fell. There's the answer to the question, everybody. And it's already been disproven as an issue. So here we go. Edge rushers, Tony. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack both get ranked. We both kind of expected it. Khalil Mack on the edge, though. 31 years old, but he still did enough last year to get the confidence of the voters to get into this top 10. We have 2 top 10 edge rushers in the league. How many more teams have that? I
would say maybe I could make an argument for the Raiders for Chandler Jones at 10. I could, but on this, as far as this list goes, none. Mm-hmm. Right? There's nobody else. But I could see where there's an argument to be made. But when I look at this, I think that people see Nick Bosa the way Joey sees his own brother. Because when you're listening to that podcast, which we didn't really get into on the show, which I absolutely loved. I know all you Charger fans have already went and listened to it, so I'm not even going to recommend it. But if you haven't, Drew Tranquil podcast, check it out. Bosa talks about his brother. He goes, he's different. He's like, my brother doesn't even say the word carbohydrate. Like, he's a beast. He just he runs through trees. Like this, he, stops moving vehicles. Like, he's so physical. I'm just like, I wish that my brother, and I'm sure my brother does talk glowingly about me when I'm not around, but I would hope that whoever in my life talks that nicely, the way he talks about Nick. And I think that was a reflection of them going Nick at 3, Joey at 4, even though Joey's done more and done it longer.
Yeah. And last year, Nick Bosa's season it goes untalked about because of what TJ Watt did, who also had an insane record-breaking year. But I think if you take TJ Watt out of the league, Nick Bosa had a shot at Defense Player of the Year last year. He was insane. And that podcast, that was my favorite part of that podcast, because I've always thought about how a brother dynamic like that works, especially one as high level as that, where both guys are like top 5, top 7. How do they view each other? Are they like little sibling rivals? Are they supporting each other? But it's very clear that Bosa's like, no, that kid is an animal. Even more of an animal than me, and I'm a damn animal. So it's good to see propping up his brother. And Bosa was ranked right above Joey, right? Nick Bosa was?
Yeah, I believe Nick was at 3, and I'm good with the first 2. I think it was JJ and and Myles Garrett.
That makes sense. Yeah, you mean
I'm
TJ,
good
right?
with
TJ and Myles Garrett.
TJ.
Yeah,
I always
TJ.
get them confused, but yeah, TJ, Miles, Nick, Joe.
Thanks to the Watt parents for that one. TJ, JJ, and then they were like, you know what, Derek, we're tired of this. We can't come up with a
Yeah,
name
exactly.
for you."
It's probably DJ, right? It's probably Derek Jr.
Oh, you're probably right.
So it's like TJ, JJ, DJ. Yeah, at some point they were like, we're not abbreviating your name.
Well, speaking of DJ, let's talk about Derwin James at 4, okay? I don't mean to be greedy. His highest rank in his career was 2. His lowest rank was outside the top 10, probably one of the injury years. Last year's ranking, he was at 9. How can you have him at 9, look at what he did last year, and not put him at 1? He's the best safety in the league. He's the most dynamic safety in the league. We talk about how great of a tackler and blitzer and all that stuff Jamal Adams is. That's his strength. We talk about how good Minkah Fitzpatrick is in coverage. You put it all together, and you got 3. DJ 3. So, Tony, where would you have DJ ranked? I wouldn't have him at 4. I'd have him in the top 3 at least.
I would too, but maybe that's me being biased. Mike, I think some of this starts to factor in when I've talked about this a lot is playoff success, right? Like, how do you get to that point where you get into the playoffs, you have big moments, iconic moments on the big stage? I think this is the year where Derwin James can enter that conversation where it's like, oh, like where Palomalu and Ed Reed were, and even to some point of like how intricate Bob Sanders was to those Colts teams. Like people forget, Bob Sanders is a player people forget about. But when he came up to the line, it was because he knew what was going to happen, and he was ruining. So many timeouts are going to be called this year because Derwin's going to be like up on the line, giving directions, and then he's just going to start strolling to the line of the scrimmage, and the quarterback's going to be like, oh shit, the play's going right that way to Derwin James and Khalil Mack are now both over there. And Sebastian Joseph Day is right there. We're running the ball. Timeout. Like there's going to be points when that is the box that comes down. And one half of the field is going to have, Nick Neiman, Tranquil, or Murray with Derwin coming down and Bosa right there, and it's like, and you're looking at it, it's going to be freaky. So I think this number will go up. I could see him being number 1 next year.
It does make sense that he needs to get more moments, right? And a lot of people will talk about Justin Simmons, Justin Simmons is a great safety, so I'll take him off of this example. I think it's a bad example, but a good example is a guy like Jesse Bates, for example. Great safety, maybe a top 5 safety in the league. Pretty hands down, definitely top 7. One of the best coverage safeties in the league, right? The Bengals drafted a safety and aren't signing him. They aren't keeping him around, franchise tagging him, trying to keep him as long as they can before he walks, because they don't value him on the same level that you value in a guy who I think has an all-time level talent like Derwin James. It's just not the same.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out in this training camp run, but I think Derwin's about to get that money.
Cornerbacks, J.C. Jackson. I feel like J.C.'s properly rated here. J.C.'s one of those more aggressive corners, so maybe they put a little bit of a knock on him for those plays that you give up from time to time with his style of play. He's still, though, when he focuses in and he locks in and you watch him go against some of the best receivers in the league, he's a man-to-man corner. It's not just like he's not Trayvon Diggs out here, but top 5, that seems pretty respectable. You could have him a little bit higher depending on how much you value the interception. In my opinion, the interception is one of the most impactful plays that you can make in a football game. So I hold high value when people get interceptions often. That's why I show Trayvon Diggs a little bit of respect when we're talking about him, because he does get toasted, but those interceptions, they impact the game more than some of the other plays, I guess I should say. But where do you think that JC should be? I think 5 is pretty respectable. I'm assuming Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, Jair Alexander above him.
Yeah, I didn't dive too deep into this one. I'm good with it, right? Because I think this is another one of those things where it's like people now want to see, hey, no Belichick. Can you do it again? Can another defensive coordinator put you in a position to be great? I think if he was still with the Patriots and he had signed a big deal and was staying in New England and he had Bill behind him, I think he would have been 1 or 2, right? Yeah. So now you have this thing where it's like, oh, we're excited for the Chargers, but now that Billy Boy's not around, how's it going to look? And so you take a little knock for that. It's people's natural instinct to give credit to a guy who has 6 Super Bowl rings with one team. I think he's got 9 total. He won with the Giants, he won 3. So it's like the guy's done some winning.
And he's a cornerback factory. Like, he just produces cornerback after cornerback after cornerback. I mean, that's his thing. He has an eye for that position for sure. I think that, it's a little bit of a downgrade in coaching, maybe go from Bill Belichick to Brendan Staley. But I'll say that I think it's an upgrade, even as good as the Patriots are on defense. I think it's an upgrade when it comes to like the players that he's playing alongside. So we'll see how that works out. I'm not expecting JC to have 10 interceptions. We'll see how he does. Quarterbacks. Let's talk about this one real quick, Tony. 7, and I know Joe Burrow was ahead of him. 7?
Again, this is a playoff win ranking to me, where it's like people are looking around and they're like, oh, yeah, he's got all the abilities, but like maybe he's not this, maybe he's not that. He hasn't been to the playoffs yet or whatever. I don't know. I don't like it. It drives me insane when I see it. I'm like, really? 7? I'm okay with, like, I don't get bent out of shape 5 or above any which way. But 7? Come on, man. Feels a little disrespectful.
If there's anyone out there that sees a clip or sees this episode and you don't think that Justin Herbert should be rated higher than 7 on this damn list because of a playoff win in the first 2 years, mind you, how many quarterbacks are dominating in the playoffs in their first 2 years in NFL history? I'll wait for that. It's not very, very many. But go and do some simple math for me, okay? Let's assume Justin Herbert plays 20 years, okay? Already 2 years in. He's got 10,000 all-purpose yards, and he's got 70 touchdowns. Times those numbers by 10. That's how much he's going to have in 20 years. Just put it together in your head for a second and really start to understand. And that's his first 2 years. There's no saying if he can get better and put up more numbers than he has in his first 2 years.
And I agree. I'm saying that I'm basing this list on what people thought headed into this season. Yeah. Clearly, they're still factoring in some of the GOAT nostalgia of some of these other guys, in my estimation. I just have a hard time believing that Aaron Rodgers can duplicate anything close to back-to-back MVPs after you lose Devontae Adams. If he does, it'll take him to another stratosphere of quarterback. Like, really, it will. If he comes out here and he works magic with Alan Lazard and Rob Tonyan and 40-year-old Randall Cobb, then good on him. But I just think going into this year, he's got to struggle. I think there's going to be a little struggle for Brady. Not that these guys aren't making the playoffs. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying, being on that same level.
Yeah, we're not going to see 40 touchdown, 3 interceptions from Rodgers and 45 touchdowns and 5,000 yards from Brady this year because they have, Antonio Brown on the bench. I mean, insane depth in the weapon core.
Right here, Craig Smith.
Yes.
Flying in with the comment.
Yes. Best 2-year start to a career by a QB of all time. Wins are not a QB stat. The hate is real. Yeah.
The hate is real strong. I agree. Thank you, Craig, for the comment. Appreciate you swinging through here. Athir has, before we go to this last one of Corey Lindsley, Athir had a comment or a question.
2-part question.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is right here. Okay, I'll decipher this for you, Tony. Basically, he's asking, Eckler being there is dumb, is what he's saying. But he's asking, do you think that Isaiah Spiller and Austin Eckler will combine for more touchdowns, or Keenan Allen and Mike Williams will combine for more touchdowns?
Ooh, This is a great question.
That is very hard because if Mike's healthy, he's going to have like a 10, 12 TD year. And even if Keenan has like 6, like we're already getting close to 20 right there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, and so we'll just say just rushing touchdowns for Eckler and Spiller. I'm going to say that there's more receiving touchdowns for Keenan and Mike. I would put that number somewhere, I'm going to say around 18.5, and then I would bet the over on that. I would say, I think Mike Williams is going double-digit touchdowns this year. I'm going 12, Keenan at whatever. But Athir, this question was a banger. That was good.
That's tough. That's a tough choice because, Eckler and Spiller, they're going to get the goal line work forever on the 1-yard line. But I don't think we're going to be on the 1-yard line very often.
Yeah, who knows? End of the year, we could see our boy Horvath in there. This dude's been putting out some workout stuff. He looks like he's trying to put on some mass, like he's trying to do some damage.
That's another guy to have our eyes on when we go to camp this upcoming weekend, a week from this weekend.
Yeah, Athir, do you live in LA? Are you going to camp at all? Because I'm going to be there on July 30th. Mike,
I'll be there 27th.
27th.
And then we'll be there for other events too. That's just the first
Yeah,
ones.
those are
All
the
right,
first two.
let's get this Lindsay talk out the way. When I first saw this, I was like, what the? That's the best center in the league you're talking about. But then I realized it's ranked over interior offensive linemen, everybody. So guards and centers. 10, there are some monster guards in the NFL. I mean, I think that guard's one of the deeper positions in the NFL. A bunch of guards got ranked above him. I think he was the top center or the second center rated. What do you think, Tony? 10?
So I think he came in as number 3 center on the list. I think Ryan Jensen was ahead of him, and I'm blanking on the other one right now. But
Ryan
anyway,
Jensen?
Ryan Jensen, the guy who he re-signed with the Bucs, right? Mm-hmm. Ryan Jensen was, I believe the rumor was, he was leaning towards Cincinnati, right? Where they also got the guard, Kappa or whatever, from the Bucs. So, like, this is how important the center position is. Every young quarterback, the teams are going out and saying, we need to bring in a good young center for them. Part of the reason the Green Bay Packers were so good for so long was they had long, sustained runs of really high-level center play. Oh, Thier's from Michigan.
Yeah, from Michigan. So you guys actually...
we share kindred spirit.
Exactly.
Sure, I'm a Uber. I feel like... Thier, do I know you and I'm just like forgetting? What part of Michigan?
Too many connections coming together here.
Yeah. You saw it for years. Lindsley was a great center for them. When I was a kid, they had Frank Winters, who was a tremendous Super Bowl winning center. And even teams like the Steelers always have had a great history of centers, Dermontti Dawson and Pouncey. It's like they had 2 centers play this one position for like 25 years or 30 years or something crazy. So it's like, to me, I think it gets overlooked as a position. And Corey Linsley was massive, like one of the best free agent signings last year. Look at what the offense did. It was insane.
Yeah, when it comes to the offensive line, center is the captain. Center is the guy that can talk to both the left and the right side. The right tackle can't talk to the left tackle. Otherwise, you're yelling across the line. The left guard and the right guard aren't communicating, but the center is communicating with everyone. So it is such a key position. It's the captain of the offensive line, and Lindsley's the captain of the team in general. Yeah, I think that he should be higher for that fact as well. Center is a harder position to play than guard, in my opinion. It's a tougher position to play when it comes to what all the different things you got to do. You got to be a pass blocker, a run blocker, just like the guard does, but you also have to have the IQ to call the fronts and identify blitzes, and Herbert's helping with a lot of that as well. But yeah, I think he could have been a little bit higher. I think he's the best center in the league, at least arguably, like a 1A, 1B situation with I think it's J.C. Treader in Cleveland. Maybe Creed Humphreys entering, but I'm not going to give a rookie number 1 if there's other guys that are elite already. It's a tough ranking for Lindsley because he got ranked with the guards, and everyone loves the guards more. They love Quentin Nelson more. You know what I mean? And then they're going to give him more credit. But Lindsley deserves some credit, man.
Yeah, and I think it's a little tougher at guard for the athleticism, right? The pulling situations that you're doing, like some of the things you're asked to do, some of the places you're asked to help inside or outside or whatever it is. So, like, I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough. But I don't think it's a crazy rank.
No. Sterling Heights. You know what? I don't know where that is. I don't know where Sterling Heights is. I'm not gonna lie and pretend like I know Lower Michigan like the back of my hand. But he does have another question up here. Let's get this one, Athir.
All right, here's the question.
Bringing the heat in the chat. Anybody else who's new here for the first time, jump in this chat and join the fun.
Let's talk. We can stay on for a couple more minutes, maybe 5 more minutes. But this question first: can this defense be top 5, and can the Chargers become the 7th team to win 15 games and win the Super Bowl? What do you guys think? Tony, I'll let you go first.
So can they be top 5? That's the first one. Absolutely. I'm going to be disappointed if they're not. I'm going to lie to you. I'm going to keep it as 100 as I can on this one. When you have those edge rushers, that secondary, and you have a coach who had the number 1 defense in Chicago, he then, he was the linebackers coach or whatever, but he was on the staff, goes to LA Rams. Number one defense in the league, and now you get the second year in your system, and you get retooled pieces, and they invest this much in it. Like, you bring in Sebastian Joseph Day, who's going to have a ginormous year, everybody. We keep talking about everybody else. I just think that pass rush coming from the outside, they're going to step up, and he's just going to be smushing quarterbacks, running right into his gut. So top 5 there. Can they win 15 games? That to me just feels like that's a reach, because you're talking about a division that is going to be very tough in a very long season. And I think I'm crazy for a 13-4 record. Like, I think that's kind of wild, and people are calling me biased and whatever else, but 15 games? You know what, Athir? It's Friday. I'm going to go have a burger. Hell yeah, they can, my friend.
Let's do it. I mean, they can. They can. This team is good enough to do it. And if this team played in 2019 against that competition, they probably would. But the AFC is stacked, and we play a bunch of AFC teams. When I look at the schedule, Tony, there's a couple games going to go back and forth. And maybe I feel a little bit better thinking about the Browns having Jacoby Brissett instead of Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson. But those teams with strong running games are ones that I was circling. Like, these might be a little bit tough matchups for us still. I look at it, and for our path to 13 or more wins is sweeping our division opponents. And that's just going to be so tough. It's so tough to do in a regular year, let alone when every single roster in the division is a playoff roster. And, one of them is probably going to get iced out of it, but sucks for the Broncos. Or the Chiefs, whoever it's going to be, or the Raiders. I don't give a crap which one of the 3 it is. But, yeah, 7 teams have done that is what he's saying. 7 teams have won the Super Bowl after a 15-1 season. Yeah, and there is one more game to win, so the chances are a little bit higher of getting 15 with that one extra game.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to think of like the 15-win teams that I can remember off the top of my head, and I think it's like I can only recall the Patriots doing it twice. I think they were 15-1 and 16-0, or no, I think they were 14-2. I don't really remember 15-win teams, to be honest with you. They're like,
I think the Dolphins went undefeated, obviously, and then in '73, I think they won 15, and they won again.
Yeah,
or maybe,
I don't know.
One of those two. Yeah, I don't know who the 7 teams are. The last 15-win team I can remember is the Carolina Panthers. My boy Cam falling to the. Love those guys. Love that game. That's my favorite Super Bowl ever.
Here's what I can say from the bottom of my cheering soul is that I don't care if they get in the playoffs and they're 10-7, as long as they're healthy and they can bring the heat. Like, I don't want them to get to the playoffs and limp in there, and then it's like, oh, they got rolled by this team. We knew they weren't ready. They weren't good. And it's like, that drives me nuts. I want just a puncher's chance, just go in there, and it's like, oh, everybody's here to play. All the horses are here. And now let's ride. That's a little tease to Mike's video that's coming out.
Yeah, NFL Mike
really originated that saying. Stay tuned.
Athir, do you have TikTok? That's my question for you. If you do, go follow me. NFL Mike on TikTok, Athir. I want to see you in my comment section with these fire comments. So he said San Francisco, Miami. So I think I was right. It was 1973 Dolphins. The only reason I know that is because of the Super Bowl streams, and that Dolphin team with Larry Zonka was pounding the rock. And Minnesota did not. They've never won a Super Bowl. Pittsburgh, New England, Denver. Athir, I'm going to trust your list, but I'm taking Minnesota off myself.
Yeah, I think
not to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm twisted on what the question is as far as like the Super Bowl or not Super Bowl part. 15 games, not likely. Possible, not likely. Not impossible.
Yeah, don't even care. Don't even care about the 15 wins as long as they win the Super Bowl. As long as I'm loading up headed to whatever. I don't know. We appreciate all these people. Lots of choices.
What day of the week is it today? It's Friday?
Friday.
I'm counting the days down to the 27th. I got 2 weeks. Well, like 2 weeks. A little less than 2 weeks. I think it's on a Wednesday I'm going. Can't wait.
Yep. I'll be there. Yeah. I'll be there on July 30th. Ready to hug it out. Any nuts and bolts.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the Derwin James thing. Should we just save it for next week?
Yeah, let's let it marinate a little bit more, right?
Marinating. It's
That's
marinating.
a great thing. Little
and
team
Derwin-
people are being like, what's going to happen? Tony
and
found
Derwin-
out he's related to Derwin James. It's the greatest day of his life.
Me and Derwin are best friends now. All right, guys, we appreciate you guys for tuning into the live this week. We'll be back next week. Same place, same time. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. That's the biggest thing. You got to hit that bell. Everyone subscribes, and then they forget to come back next Friday. But if you have notifications on, the second that we hit the button and the live stream starts, you're going to get a notification that says, hey, Nuts and Bolts is live right now. And you're going to go, oh, it's the best day of the week, the day Nuts and Bolts airs.
Mike, real quick, one last thing, and then you can end it. The kicking woes for the Chargers have been a nightmare, but he's bringing up the 15-1 Minnesota Vikings. I forgot about this. Gary Anderson, NFC Championship. Rough. That team was going to win a Super Bowl. Chris Carter, Randy Moss, I believe Jake Reed, they were unstoppable that year.
The Q was
Gary Anderson. Single bar, single tier, wide left. Ouch.
Damn. They have some kind of inside joke where they all like hit the table or something anytime you bring up Gary Anderson. I forget what it is. One of my best friends is a Vikings fan.
No, I have tons of friends.
Yeah, the Vikings are basically like the NFC Chargers. They do the same shit as us usually, but not no more. We'll see you in February, Minnesota, where we're playing you guys in the Super Bowl. All right, guys, have a great week. Again, subscribe for us. Bolts up. Let's go.
Cheers up there.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
Don Coryell